So today I'm doing something I have never done before. I'm actually releasing to the world my system for how I can help anyone make millions of dollars in real estate. And what I'm doing is I've got some new people coming into my training and fulfillment department. So today I'm giving them all of this training. And I thought, you know what if we turn the cameras on and make this available to the world? The reality is I have lived an incredibly privileged life because I got my hands on this information when I was in my early 20s. And it meant that I could be financially free by 26 years old. And I've been able to go on and I've traveled to 40 different countries, and I've been able to see the world, and I've got 4 amazing kids, and I've been able to afford an incredible lifestyle, live in freaking amazing houses. All of that is because of this information that I have that no one else seems to have. So today, as I give it with my team, I'm giving it to you as well. Let's come on in, let's check it out. Let's meet the team.
'Cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary. It's about to be legendary.
What's up, my friends? How we doing? So thank you for being here today, guys. Today is going to be a very thorough training on how we build million-dollar game plans. And I know that we've got several departments represented here, but we've got some new additions to our team here, and thankful for having you guys here. You know, when I look at the way that we partner with people all over the world and help them do real estate, as a business owner, I look at the weak parts in the system. And I think currently the weakest part that we have outside of the amazing results that we produce is that we either have partners that are confused about what is my game plan, or someone from team transformation, you know, maybe postured the game plan a little bit different than how it could have been. And we get confusion. And I want to make this information for the first time ever available to the world. I'm going to dive in and we're going to talk about something that many of you are already experts on, but I need our entire team on the exact same page. By the way, what benefits do you think could happen if company-wide everyone knew, from our clients to people that were helping fill our events here at our convention center, what would happen if people were all on the same plan with knowing we're all different human beings, but we all know what our game plan is on how I'm gonna make $1 million and what my next steps are? What are the benefits gonna be for us?
Synergy.
Synergy?
Well, it's like pulling a ship in the same direction instead of pulling it in different directions. We can actually make some progress.
We can make sure our expectations are aligned for sure. Any other benefits that you guys see for you as we're trying to help our clients make this money?
Where focus goes, energy flows. So we're all focused on the same goal. We can all accomplish that much quicker.
Perfect. So for us to really dive into the science of how you build a game plan, I want to start by just talking about why society's game plan does not work. Because when our partners come to us, they come from very different walks of life. And here's how most of them have been indoctrinated. They've been told that when you go to college, it's all about getting good grades. And that starts when we're young, because you need good grades if you want to what?
Go to college.
If you want to go to college, you got to have that piece of paper that says you're smart. Because technically there was a time when a college degree would mean double earnings from a high school diploma. So everyone got indoctrinated, college, even though most of us won't even use our degrees for whatever we do career-wise. And people don't have 40-year careers anymore. They have like 3-year careers, and they're hopping around, and the world is changing so fast. For me, college is, in most professions, a really archaic, outdated system. The world is only beginning to understand that. But they do go to college and they land their job or their career, and they spend 40 years trying to pay off college, because it's weird that we'll go into sometimes $50,000 or $100,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt so we can have like a 15% bump in our pay. But here's the big problem. We are not trained. College doesn't teach us about money. It doesn't teach us about finance. So people don't learn how to invest. They're taught to allow other people to control their money. So what do we do with our money? We put it in where? We're taught to put it in a 401k. It sounds sexy when you're young and dumb and financially untrained, because they seduce you with a match. And it's like, it feels like free money, except you can't touch it, and you can't have it, and you can't spend it. We are also taught to put our money in what? Most of us were taught to put our money in IRAs. If you get more sophisticated or have some leftover money, you might actually put your money a little bit in like the stock market, like the S&P. And then most people are really interested in eliminating the biggest liability. Their biggest expense in their life is their what? Your house is your biggest liability, even though for most people it end up being their most important asset, because at the end of their life, when you look at what they have accumulated, the equity in their home will probably be the biggest part of their nest egg. In fact, when we get accidental millionaires, is people that bought a house early enough in California or in the outskirts of New York, and the prices boomed, and these people were just good, conservative, and their house ended up being the most important investment. But it's actually a liability because it what? It doesn't pay you, it costs money. So we have people that are basically putting their money into their house. Here's the problem with these assets. There are others. There's annuities. We're going to talk about gold and silver. And part of the game plan is knowing how to transfer assets from low yields to high yields. Here's the problem though. What is the biggest problem with all of these assets? One, they don't pay you. As in, on a monthly basis, they do not give you anything. That's part of the problem, but there's a bigger problem. The ROI. On average, you're looking at a 5% ROI. So the top 500 companies that are growing, if you were to invest in a blend in the S&P 500, you're going to do over 30 years under 10%, around 9%. So you do 9% here. Your 401ks and IRAs usually end up doing between 4 and 5%. They'll show you more, but when you do the math correctly and calculate it, you're talking about 4 and 5, and your house is actually, other than appreciation, the equity in it is losing at the pace of inflation. So this is like a negative 3%. So when you add all of this up, this 5%, and by the way, when you retire, you give all your money to your financial planner who sticks it into an annuity doing 4% is the best they can give you guaranteed. What's the problem with 5% returns? Who knows what the rule of 72 is? Take 72, divide your interest rate, and it'll tell you how long it'll take for it to double. Who's got a calculator right now? Does someone whip out a calculator? Take 72, divide it by 5.
14 years.
14.4 years.
In 14.4 years, with compound interest, you can double your money. Now, if you're saving money in here and it takes you a lot of time for the average person to save 50 grand, then 14 years later it becomes 100 grand. 14 years later, oh, I ran out of working years, right? So 5% on this stuff means that by the time you're 55, 65 years old, I mean, you talk to our clients, how much money do people typically tend to have? 100,000, 200,000, 300,000? And if you've been living off of $70,000, $80,000 a year, then you can eat that up in just 3, 4, 5 years, and then it's gone.
Right.
Chris?
You want me to make that picture even worse?
Okay.
If that 5% is not adjusted for inflation.
Right,
Uncle Sam
exactly.
tells us inflation is at 3%. So if you believe Uncle Sam means that 5% is really earning 2%,
Thank you, Chris.
and it's going to take 40 some odd years to double.
40?
40 some odd.
Okay, so by the way, with inflation, it's not 14 years, it's 40 years. Here's the big problem. The reason why everyone fails financially is because they're doing, this whole game here is called accumulation. And the problem with accumulation is that you're basically saying, I can work and I can save my money and basically put it away, and in 40 years, I'll put away enough for retirement. True or false? False. No one should become 18 years old and leave a household without understanding the basic math of life. Going to college, getting a degree, getting a job, and being a great saver is not going to allow you to save. In other words, in 40 years, you can't save enough for the next 40. And by the way, why do I say the next 40?
Because that's how long we live.
Freaking modern medicine. If you're my age, you're not going to die at 78 or 76 with today's mortality rate. They've literally unlocked in the telomeres in science and biology. They've got animals living twice as long. They're starting human trials. Guys, they know how to keep us alive a really long time. And so this is a problem because people aren't actually preparing for what's really going to be needed. So accumulation says I can save enough in a lifetime. True or false? You're one of the rare, whatever, 1% that is like making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year at a job, and you save 50% of your income, not to mention the other 40% that just went to taxes, then you might be able to accumulate enough.
Well, so here's the other thing, Chris, is that people, generally speaking, want to increase their quality of life. This isn't even taking that into account. This is a stasis.
No, so most people actually, if you do the math here, if you actually were to take this money, let's just say that someone wound up with $200,000 and they annuitize it and they get paid 4% a year. What's 4% on $200,000? $8,000. Now take 8,000 divided by 12 months. 666. It's an unlucky number. You're going to get 666 extra dollars a month on top of social. Social Security can be $1,000, $1,200, $1,400, $1,500. For some people, $2,000. So here's what it really means. People, as they grow older and get raises and make more, what they end up doing is most people, by the time they get to retirement, will become accustomed to $60,000 a year, $80,000 or $90,000 a year. They have to literally cut their budget and live off of a third of the money. And that's just if they're living off of the interest. And because they can't, guess what happens to their half paid off or paid off house that they thought would bring them security? It's now their nest egg that they eat and they consume it till it's gone. So a few years later, now the house is gone. What happens when you're at retirement and within a number of years you've run out of money? What do you then do? You go work at Walmart, you become a greeter, but even that's becoming more competitive, kid you not, because of the lay of the land. You got to get a job, you got to work for someone, but more than likely you're going to be relying on the government, you're going to be relying on charity. And hopefully you can find a way to make peace with your life and find bliss, even though you can't visit your grandchildren and you can't spoil them and you can't travel like you always hoped you would in retirement. And that's your life. Not for a decade, decades. Guys, it is pathetic, it is sad. We have a responsibility to make sure people learn what this whole video is about, which is do the math. Do the what?
Math.
And do the math. People, if we were taught by 18 years old how to use 5th grade math skills to do this math, we would all say, I'm screwed. Once you know you're screwed, then we say, I need to do something different, and we end that, and then we bring about a new behavior. That's where our clients, when they come into our fold and we're working together to build wealth and do real estate, make it turnkey for them, we're able to help them do something where they can earn. And by the way, the secret to all of this that I'm getting at is you don't have to figure out how to become the most savvy investor on the planet and make millions of dollars. You just got to figure out how to shift from accumulation mindset to a residual income mindset. So for example, by 26 years old, I had $1.6 million in net worth. It was meaningless. That's something you could brag about. I'm a millionaire. Who cares? I had 12,000 residual dollars a month coming in every single month that I didn't have to work for. If I could write you a check today for $1 million or $8,000 a month every month for the rest of your life, growing at 10% a year, which would you take? Guys, the $1 million is meaningless. $1 million is meaningful if you're stuck in the accumulation mindset saying, I can save enough. You can never save enough. You have to go into a residual model. Does this make sense? Yes. So this is where people are coming at when they're actually watching these videos and they're coming in and we start investing with them. To go to a residual mindset, here's how you do it. You got to figure out how to go from a 5% ROI, in my opinion, you've got to figure out how to land this number right here, 20% ROI. Now I know that we're doing deals where we're doing 25%, 28, 29, 30, sometimes over 30%. But Kris, since you seem to be our built-in human calculator in the office here, rule of 72, if my money were growing at 20%, it's going to double how often?
Every 5 years.
It's going to double every 5 years. And actually with the rule of 72 and compound interest, that number is going to be closer to 4 years. If your money can double every 5 years versus 40 years, 14 years, what changes? Now the little bit that you save, the little bit you accumulate, if you can put it in real estate producing this, you can get where you want to go. By the way, in a lifetime, not lifetimes. But more importantly, are there things that you can do to go then from a 30-year game plan to a 20 or a 10-year game plan? Yeah, several of you in this room are actually on that. Carson, you just got your third door?
Third door, second house.
Dude, second house, right? Guys, give it for Carson, dude. Young, blowing it up. Miller, how many houses have you done today?
Oh, total 7.
7. Guys, give it up for Milner. Freaking showing up, crushing it. So the reality is that we have got to shift this mindset, and it just starts with everyone really understanding that I need you to understand this math because sometimes our clients forget. And you need to be able to pull out the calculator and say, well, let's do the math. For team transformation, one of the most powerful things you can do when you're on the phone with someone is you can add it all up for them, annuitize it at 4%, and say, great, right now, you've done this in the first 20 years. If you work, how many more years do you want to work? 20? What do you have, double? 2.5? Oh great, you got 80 grand. Let's assume you have 200 grand. Let's assume you have 300 grand earning 4%. And you do the math and there's like, will that work for you? You don't have to convince anyone, just help them do the math, because when people do the math, that's when they realize this is not working. That's just the first part, is just understanding that mentality. Where we're coming back next in today's training so that you guys can see this, I've given you guys the manual and the notes for everything that we're covering today. What I want to do right now is I want to talk about the 2 secrets to making $1 million. This is the first step in creating $1 million game plan. You need to understand that there are 2 things in particular that you have to have if you want to transcend this broken plan and create one where you can not just survive, but freaking actually thrive.